I want to address something different that I really have not talked to you a lot about, and that is the fact that the NBA on TNT after next season is reportedly no longer. The NBA on NBC is coming back, and under the new NBA media rights deal, we're going to have the NBA on ESPN and ABC. We're going to have the NBA on Amazon, and we're going to have the NBA on NBC. You can tell by my hand gestures my thoughts on those. Your thoughts on the new NBA potential media rights deal and the fact that inside the NBA and the NBA on TNT is more than likely ending.
This is a deep conversation for me because the reason I want to get into this field is because of those guys, because of EJ, because of Kenny and Shaq and Chuck. And I think a lot of kids in our generation, Brandon, looked up to those guys, a lot of sports guys. I know you definitely have. Um, Man, but if this is it, man, thanks for the ride, guys. Like these, I really hope Adam Silver's smart with it and he knows what he's losing. Because Ernie Johnson, to me, there's two names that will be synonymous with broadcasting, in my opinion. Not Cleveland broadcasting, because if we're talking then I'm putting Joe Tate up there. But two guys for me that like cemented my childhood as a basketball fan, and that's Mike Breen and it's EJ.
I
And
I would agree to that.
yeah, you agree with me there.
I would agree to that. And by the way, real quick, because you mentioned it in Cleveland sports broadcasting lore, I'm going to bring up two names real quick, and then we'll get to the national. I'm going to bring up Austin Carr, obviously complete legend. He is surely missed now that obviously Brad Doherty, who I think has done a decent job, though sometimes it's too much of a homer in my opinion when it comes to the Cavs. I think Austin Carr is obviously synonymous, but I also and this one hurts me to say, and I think where I'm going with this, Fred McLeod.
There it
Um,
is.
for
That
Fred
just gave me
McLeod,
chills.
for those of you that don't know Fred McLeod, go on YouTube and search LeBron James highlights for the Cavs. That's all you need to know. But with that being said, when we talk about these NBA on media rights, I had said when I talked about this last week that I wished personally that it would be NBC, Amazon, and TNT, and that ESPN/Disney would not be involved. Though I know that was never going to happen. You just know how I feel recently about the decision making at the four-letter network and how downhill, in my opinion, that network has gone. Specifically with their NBA coverage. A lot of people did not like Mark Jackson and Jeff Van Gundy, and I get it. They were sometimes annoying, but they are 10 times better. And this is no disrespect to Doris Burke and JJ Redick, who have done an okay job, I would say. But Mike Breen is probably standing out more now than ever because Mike Breen, in my opinion, has had to carry that three-man booth. And I think that ESPN made a massive mistake. And unfortunately for me, those are going to be our next voices of the NBA.
Um, yeah. I don't really have a lot to speak on the inside of the NBA. I just like when I saw that it was going away, like my heart kind of split, kind of like how you were when Shay and Skip split. How tough that was on you. It was kind of the same for me on the inside of the NBA. Um, but I would like to touch on what you said about Fred McLeod because he is one of the reasons I'm want to be in this field too. Rest in peace, Fred. Man, you had some of the most iconic calls, but my favorite one is actually when Kyle Korver hit a three. It was a random Tuesday, and you're gonna ask why is this your favorite? Because when he hit the three, he said all the way from North Royalton, and that is where me and my family stay. So to me, that was one of my favorites. But obviously, national wise, Kyrie Irving from when he hit the fadeaway, when he hit the shot in the finals, and I'm just happy we got one before Fred tragically passed away, and obviously AC. That's the man, the myth, the legend. sometimes a little slow on the commentary, but I rather listen to him than John Michael. No offense, John Michael.
Yeah, again, I think John Michael has done a best job that he could filling in those shoes.
For sure. But yeah, it's tough, man. It's really tough to see. Like, I guess this is really like my growing up moment. It's like, damn, I'm growing up now because like all
And
the
we're gonna have a whole new era in the NBA. I am a little bit surprised. I'll say this: that it is reported that the finals are going to be exclusive on ABC still. Amazon may get a conference final so that NBC's package may be like, a Sunday basketball in America after football season, some Peacock exclusives, maybe the NBA in season tournament, and maybe like the play in and then a first or second round. Like if NBC is going to pay all that money, I thought that they would be a big partner, like right there with ESPN. And I thought it'd be sort of like, a trade off with the finals, the way the NHL does it, or something along those lines. I thought Amazon would be the one that kind of gets, the one big game a week, maybe a play in tournament, maybe a couple playoff games. But are you surprised, I guess, at the way that these rights are being divvied up?
very because why are we turning streaming into cable again?
Okay, so this is a conversation we have never had. I haven't had a lot of it here on Brandon's Roll myself, and I don't know how you feel about it. I still have cable. I am still a big proponent of cable. Sometimes I don't want to deal with streaming because I've always said if you have streaming, you got to have good internet to stream. And I've always believed that streaming services should be for replay value, for things that you want to go back and watch years later. It should not be for live sports.
Hulu has live sports, my friend.
It does.
And I'm a big advocate of Hulu. I use Hulu. My family uses Hulu. It's done us no wrong. It's actually not that bad. It's basically like you have cable. You just don't have Bally Sports, which is fine because realistically, you only need Bally Sports if you're a hockey fan. You need it for Jackets or the Tribe. But I have ways I can watch the Tribe game. It's fine. And try playing great baseball. A little off topic, but we are. But like to me, the topic of conversation to me is like, why does like okay? So you got your Netflix, right? For example, Netflix, Tom Brady roast, right? And they did that live. That was cool. That was really cool. But why do I have to buy Amazon Prime, Peacock, just to watch the sports I enjoy? Why do I have to do that? It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get into this in a minute when we talk about the NFL. But now, their Christmas games are going to be on Netflix. You got to buy Peacock. You got to buy Prime. You got to buy Netflix. You got to buy ESPN Plus. You got to buy NFL Sunday Ticket. Like, it's going to cost more to watch games on TV than it will at the stadium.
Yeah, at that point, hopefully, the Browns actually build the stadium in Brook Park. At that point, just take a trip to Brook Park and go to a game.
Yeah, really. So the other thing I think, though, when it comes to the NBA, and we'll address this real quick, there is thoughts about once they get these media rights deal in about expansion. And I have heard along the grapevines that Seattle is going to get a team back. Las Vegas is going to get a team, which will mean one team will move out east, which will be probably the Memphis Grizzlies. We're going to have 16 teams out east, 16 teams out west. I want to get your thoughts on that, but I also want to get your thoughts about that would mean that out of 32 teams, if you include the play-in tournament, 20 teams are going to make the playoffs, which to me is just way too much.
Yeah. I agree. I love the Sonics. Obviously, didn't get to see much of them because I was still a little kid, but I always loved their colors. I thought that was awesome. My dad is a big Sean Kemp guy, so I grew up watching Sean Kemp highlights and seeing him in the Seattle, and I always thought that was cool. I loved the Sonics. I thought it was so cool. The Seattle Supersonics, like that. is a cool name. Like that would bring back so much like nostalgia for guys like my father and the older generation who misses the little things in the game. And man, but 20 teams in the playoffs. Yikes. What's the point of the regular season then?
Yep. And, Jalen, and I know you've heard me say this fact on the podcast over and over again, these playoffs. Do you know that historically in the NBA, unless you're a top 3 seed, you don't win the title?
Yes, I actually do. I saw that fact the other day.
There's only 2 teams in history that have not been a top 3 seed that have won the title. One of them was the number 4 seed, the 1960 Boston Celtics with that Bill Russell. The other was 1995, the Houston Rockets that Hakeem Olajuwon. The only reason why they were a 6 seed is because he was out most of the regular season. They were a top 2-3 seed most of the way until he went down. So why are we putting in all these playoff teams? We're outside of last year's Miami Heat miracle run. We don't even get 8 seeds and 7 seeds going to the finals again, unless you're the Heat or the 2000 Knicks.
Ah, man, I don't know. It's in shambles, man, and I guess we'll see how it plays out.
So I'm going to propose this to you because I brought this up last year. I haven't brought it up in a year on any podcast or any show, but I'm going to throw this out. If you're going to have expansion of the playoffs, right? Mm-hmm. You can either do 1 or 2 ways. I think you could do the old NFL model where the first and second seed get buys. You do 3 versus 6, 4 versus 5. You can have the 1 get a bye, 2v7, 3, 6, 4, 5, whatever. I think, and this is my opinion, I know you're a big fan of the NBA playoffs, but I think for some of these series, like for, baseball does like the division rounds, 5 games, then 7, then 7.
Yeah.
If you're the NBA, to me, the first round, go back to 5 games. Make it more urgent. We don't need 7-game series for all of these first-round matches, where a lot of them aren't particularly close. The second round, I think you could even do 5 games. Then you do conference finals 7, finals 7.
I disagree. I agree for the first round.
Okay.
I agree for the 5. Because in baseball, that's why I love first round of baseball so much, because every game means something.
Absolutely. And by the way, it probably benefits the road team if you think about it, because if you steal game 1, you almost have to steal one of those first 2 games.
I agree. But the second round, I think that's when you go back to 7. I might be a bit biased because I want to see more basketball being played on my television, but that's just me. Yeah, but I agree. Go back to 5.
Like that clip from the Brands World podcast? If so, make sure you go down there and hit that subscribe button. While you're down there hitting the subscribe button, make sure to also hit the notification bell so you never miss another upload. And make sure you check out all the other clips from the Brands World podcast right here on YouTube.